Ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Should I do that?
Yeah.
To Larry, okay. Good morning, friends. Welcome to Adult Ed on this Martin Luther King Jr. weekend Sunday. Good to have you all here. And I wanted to welcome my colleagues and friends, Winfred Burns and Chandra Stewart. I'm so grateful to be a partner in ministry with them. Gotten to know Winfred over the past several years as he started as pastor at Maple Avenue Ministries, and have been able to connect with him and that congregation on a number of opportunities. So admire and am grateful for his ministry there. He's been a great support and colleague to me too. And Chandra Stewart is now an elder VP at Maple Avenue Ministries. I've gotten to know Chandra over the last, how many years have we been on the board? 6 years? Something like that, at IM Academy, where Chandra is our president of the IM Academy board. I serve on the executive committee there too, and have so appreciated her leadership with that group and becoming colleagues and friends with them. Part of the Community Partners series, our Partners in Reconciliation, is getting to know more of what's happening in our community with other partners. And this is a chance for us to be able to express different ways of support too. And in our community partners budget that we're going to be reviewing and finalizing next Sunday, we're going to be making a commitment to Maple Avenue Ministries. We've been able to shift as Joshua Viss has ended his time as an RCA missionary, and we're seeing this as a local commitment that we can make to make a commitment to Maple Avenue Ministries over several years, and you'll see some of the things that will be supporting. And want to express too, as we're able to do that with financial resources, for us to be able to receive the support, the gifts, the encouragement that Maple Avenue Ministries gives to us too, and how meaningful it is to know that we're connected in ministry and that we can each do things in different ways. And as we do that, I think the sum of those parts is greater as we serve together. So thank you for being here, Winfred and Chandra, giving your time, and look forward to the information and discussion this morning.
All right, I was like, I didn't know, is he going to pray or something? I'm not just going to give me wise counsel, sir. You know, so, right, good morning. It is good to be with you all this morning. Again, as Pastor Gordon just said, I am Winfred Burns the second. I serve as the lead pastor at Maple Avenue Ministries, and a lot of familiar faces. So it is good to see those of you all who I already know, and to get to know those who I do not. Pastor Gordon was very humble in his introduction, because had it not been for him walking me through the process, I would not have probably been the pastor here. So I'm grateful for him and his friendship and his leadership and his wisdom in my life and in the life of Maple Avenue. As we were transitioning from Pastor Denise to myself, both Pastor Gordon and Pastor Dan at Calvary were very, very important in kind of helping Maple Avenue in that transition. So I'm grateful to him, and I'm also grateful for you for letting him do that, because you all could have told him to leave them people down the street alone and stay here. And so we're grateful for that as well. As he said, I also will be joined by Chandra Stewart, who is the VP of Elders. She's going to jump in. And if you see her leave early, don't worry. She just has to leave a little bit early, so don't think it's strange. She's not mad at me. I didn't do anything wrong. So we are going to talk kind of a little bit about what is happening currently at Maple Avenue. And let me preface this by saying there is so much going on, I could not fit everything that is happening. So this isn't everything, but this, I thought, was the kind of some of the more important things that we wanted to make you aware of what was happening. And then again, if you have questions at the end, please feel free. So kind of where we're going today, I want to first start talking about where we are. Currently, in the 3.5 years that I've been pastoring, the pastor of Maple Avenue, we have seen we've seen some pretty good growth in terms of numerically and people. Some of this has been people coming back. Some people, this has been we're attracting new people. Pause. I have to say this. I'm a banker by trade. So if I don't use church language sometimes, charge it to the banker that I'm still working out of me, okay? All right, so 65% increase in attendance. We have recently, this past year, begun an immigrant support team. We've seen tremendous growth in our youth and children's ministry. I think we have a history of having a really good worship ministry, but we've kind of seen some new things that are happening in that area of our ministry. Our community care, both internally, and this is for me, and in our neighborhood, is improving, strengthening partnerships, and then we've got some building improvement projects that have been done or in process of being done, and some that are we're still in the works of. So that's kind of where we're, and then we'll end with where we're going. Cool? All right. So we are. I'm pretty sure that of course, it is the work of the Spirit, but the reason that we are seeing what we're seeing in terms of our growth is that we've just really decided that we want to, we've affirmed that it's really important for us to be a community that stays together, that does life together, that does the deep work of building relationships with each other. And that is difficult, right? Especially in a context like Maple Avenue, that is multicultural, multigenerational, and so to have to do the hard, we've committed that we're willing to do the hard work, sometimes the laborious work of saying we want to be together, we want to have the hard conversations, we want to talk about the tough stuff, the uncomfortable stuff, the things that might make you mad today, but you have to work through it and get over it so we can get better for tomorrow. And I think that we're seeing that has been something that is attractive to people, especially, and this is a safe place I can say this, giving some of the cultural things that we are seeing. It's really important that as the church, as the place that God has called us to, that we don't ignore what is happening, but that we try to find where God is and where we are in the midst of what God is doing and what's happening. And so we're doing that. And I think that is it's difficult. But I think that it's why we're seeing growth, why we're seeing families who are saying that we want to commit to doing this work, to being present, to contributing with the gifts that we have, no matter what those gifts are. We want to find out where they can fit, and I think that's the real kind of thing why we're seeing the growth that we're seeing over the past 3.5 years. Again, this year, one of the things that we committed to this past year, 2025, was we started an immigration support group. This kind of came really from a few members. I think some of you might know Dr. Chuck Green. He came, him and a couple of others came and said, "Hey, Pastor, this is something we want to do." And as a smart pastor, I said, "Well, let me get out the way and let you do it." And so they have formed a group that has, we've taken in, we've done this initially in partnership with Movement West Michigan, but taken in a family and have really supported this family. It's an Afghan Afghan family who's recently moved to the area, and we have done everything from help find jobs to once we got them settled, we've helped furnish the house. Now we're doing English classes. There was recently a baby that was born, so we've stepped in and done things for the family. So just being in the life of this immigrant family. And so now that they are somewhat settled, we're in a season now with our immigrant support team of trying to say, okay, what do we do next? How do we continue to expand this? Because not only was this something that was beneficial for this family that we were helping, but we found, again, another way that we can be the hands and feet of Jesus in the community that we serve. And again, it doesn't have to always, be something that's grand, but how can we, with what we have, do what God has called us to do. And in the process, seeing how God will take, I use this example, how God will take our little 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and bless people more than what we thought we can do. And so we've done that this year. And I'm very proud of, again, of how our church has come around this project and this community and this family and this new ministry that has evolved. Because again, Maple Avenue has a history of being justice and social justice advocates. But one of the things that I've been praying into and speaking into is how do we do that better? And this was something that came from it. And so again, I just shut up and got out the way. And so it's good to see kind of how God has breathed on it and what this has turned into and how we've been able to be supportive in with this family. So also I told Chandra at any point, please jump in. So if she ever has anything to say, she'll just jump in. And yeah, do you have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay, all right. Here we go. Now you go. There you go.
Good morning. Again, I'm Chandra. I am, as he mentioned, VP of Elders here at MAM. Fun fact, I've been attending MAM since I was about 15 years old. I'm older now, but that's been about 30 years, so let's just say that. And also, as Gordon mentioned, I am the board president for I Am Academy, which is right across the street. And that partnership, Gordon jumping on, and us, we've met here a few times in the beginning stages of our development. So we've been so blessed and fortunate to have this space across the street to do our work. And part of this ties into the community care that we do. I'll get to that in a minute, but Neighborhood Nights is something else that we do as an organization, as a ministry at MAM. And part of that involved our scatter survey, which is where we took out, we did a vocational, what did you call it? Assessment?
Power assessment, yeah.
Yeah, and community assessment of just pretty much wondering what the community was looking for, what they need and what they want. And so that transformed into doing the things that we're doing, which are the Neighborhood Nights, the 427 Club, which is for our 55 and up and retirees, where they meet and gather, and anyone can join, but specifically it's for that group of people. But it's just to, again, connect and love together and grow together. And again, the embrace groups, again, what Pastor mentioned about, these are things that our congregation has said that they want it, and that is, how do we grow and develop together as Jesus calls us to do, as Christ calls us to do, and what does that look like? And this was just, again, people just coming and say, hey, we want to grow deeper in our faith, grow deeper as a church. And these embrace, right now I think we're gonna launch about 4 of them, maybe 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
And we have leaders of that group. It's not such a structural approach, but there is a foundation of specific things that we want to address. But overall, it's just really about working together spiritually, community, friendship, relationships. It's just relationship building in a way that just goes deeper than just seeing each other on Sunday morning. And so I'm really excited about those because, being in the church, being an elder, sometimes you think you know it all, but this is a different way to just really pour into what God has called me to do and some others in the church. So really excited about that. And then I already mentioned the scatter survey. Again, that's where some of these things have come from. And then our Juneteenth 5K. So when I mentioned I Am Academy, which historically, Juneteenth started in Holland 2001. And so it's been around for quite a long time. It's never owned by anyone because anyone can do Juneteenth. But it has transitioned or transformed over the years with different people running it. And so I Am Academy took on this charge about 6 years ago and did a couple things, but through partnership with area churches and other community people, MAM. And so the 5K is something that I Am was like, you know what, we want to go ahead, take on that, right? It was just, again, just the beauty of it all is no one owns anything, but the fact that MAM was able to come on and be like, this is something that we want to do was sure, do it. And supporting the different, like I said, I Am Academy and other organizations in the community is just something that, we found that we want to do as a church. Because again, during this time period, it was like we're centering on wellness and health and all the things. And again, congregational members are like, hey, we want to do this. I'm a runner. I want to really get into this. And so just the beauty of doing all those type of things. And I think that's the last slide for that, right?
Yes,
Or do we
ma'am.
got another one? Okay. And let's see, community care, again, we're just really excited about the work that we're doing in the community that shows us not only as a multicultural, intergenerational church, because, I tell everyone, we have a black pastor, but we're not really a black church, just FYI, right? So the beauty in that is that doing things like this and being able to share what we're doing, hopefully to invite and embrace people in to see that, yes, we're doing these type of things, but anyone can do them, and that we're welcoming everyone to join in that partnership with us. So community care goes beyond just ma'am. It's just about learning about who we are and sharing their experience with us.
I also want to add, I think that one of the beauties of this is this is a way for us to, as we're building community, to speak to the whole person, right?
Yep.
One of the things that we recognize is in the core city of Holland, we see elevated numbers of people who deal with things like high blood pressure,
Yeah, that's a good
diabetes,
point.
and things like that. And so this is kind of our way of also encouraging healthier lifestyles. And so we do have, as Chandra said, we have several partners, Intercare, and a couple other,
Michigan.
Gazelle Sports,
Yeah,
who
Gazelle
come out
Sports,
and
yep.
do things like take blood pressure medicines. We have, they come out and teach us how to give CPR and things like that. So again, just trying to minister to the whole person, right? Like God uses bodies, and so we need to have, even though right now y'all not been praying for mine, but that God wants us to be in good health as our soul prospers, right? And so, so this is one of the things, the activities that we've been doing to kind of promote that.
Well, and an internal thing, would you say even our mental health, the
Absolutely.
cap that we do, right?
Yep.
People able to get some therapy sessions or mental health if they need it.
Yes, absolutely.
By trade, I am a therapist, so
Yes,
I'm
okay.
always mental health, supporting that.
Yes,
So
so we do have a partnership with Pine Rest for that as well. Thank you. So what else? So one of the things that we've seen is we've seen a huge increase in our attendance and participation in the area of children and youth. When before doing the immigration team, Dr. Green decided he wanted to kind of spearhead and lead some of the resurgence of our youth ministry. And so he and several of the families began that, and so we started to see, again, some weeks we've got 60 kids who we are trying to navigate. So it started with just children's ministry, and then it got so big that we had to then split it from children's ministry to children and junior church. And so we're now running into that issue of, okay, what are we going to do as we continue to grow? Where do we put people? Because we don't have any more rooms or spaces, and so that's a good problem to have, but it is still a thing. And I think, again, too, also the fact that we have incorporated, which we're trying to make it more than just sitting there. Okay, so I remember when I was in junior church, it was just like the fun part of the day was the Bible sword, right? Who could find the scripture the fastest? So we've done it. Y'all remember that? Y'all play Bible sword, swords out. Oh, yeah, so yeah, I used to win that all the time. A little competitive, but that was, we wanted to do more, and so we're using a lot more arts, we're using dance, we're using things like that to help some of our children kind of not only just know the story, but to be able to kind of think about what's happening. A couple of weeks ago, I was asked to teach a class on how to listen to a sermon. I'm like, how do I teach a 10-year-old how to listen to a sermon? But they had some very good questions for me. And so just trying to be all-encompassing in our approach to engaging. We do a pretty good job of incorporating them into even the big people's church. And so they're getting to do that as well. So I think all of that is helping, is where we're seeing the growth and while we're seeing families really bring in other families because they're seeing what's happening in the lives of our children.
Well, and I would add too, like we even remodeled downstairs,
We
right?
got that far. We got
Okay,
that far.
okay,
Yes,
but I was
yes.
gonna say because of like getting kids to go to it, it was growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or even the children's blessings that we include in the service. That's a part of it, right?
Absolutely.
And Safe Church, we prioritize.
Yes,
So I think that's part of growing it as well.
absolutely. So this year, on to Vital to Worship, this year we were able to get a worship grant, one of the Calvin Institute worship grants. And so one of the big parts of that for us was, again, we wanted to incorporate more than just singing, again. So we kind of took a holistic approach to our worship team. So it includes dance, it includes visual arts, it includes tech, and musicians and singers. So how can we, we wanted to create a deeper understanding of the culture that we wanted at Maple Avenue. So we wanted something that was, of course, theologically sound, but we also wanted something that did not fit one particular mode. So one particular genre, right? So we don't want just all hymns. We love hymns. I love hymns. I come from hymns. Sweet hour of prayer that brought me from a world of prayer, right? We come from that, but there's also, again, as a multicultural, multigenerational church, we do love gospel. So, so a good shout is good for you. But we do love our CCM, and we do love, so how do we include all of that into what we're doing? How do we take the time to think through and then also have a consistent liturgical theme in service? How do we do all of that and do it well and then include everybody? And so, again, that's kind of what we undertook over this last year. And from that, we saw, we see different various styles of music. We saw different instruments that we brought in. We saw some visual arts things that are happening. We had worship nights and things like that. But one of the bigger things that we did is we actually started to record our own music. So we had listening sessions where we would just sit and write our own songs. And so we've begun to record about 6 songs. 2 of them are done, but we've got the other 4 have not started yet. So we're recording our own music, and hopefully, I didn't do it. Hopefully sometime this year they will be finished and we'll start to begin to release them. But that's one of the things that's come out, and we've seen everybody participate. So people who have just come into the church, who have never had I won't say never, but really have not engaged the church or relationship with Christ, have come into this space and just begun to kind of write their story and write their song. And so that's one song we have. Then we have people who've been there, been in church or been doing some things that maybe they ain't supposed to be doing, have written, but all of us are coming together, bringing what we have into the space. And so we've got about 6 songs that have been produced from that. Also, if you look into the top left, that banner that's up there, that's one of the products of what we've done too. A visual art is for Lent last year we had where every week you could take a strip of material, and you would hammer it to the cross. So whatever it is that you wanted to bring to God, you would take it and put it to the cross. And I didn't, but took all of that and made this beautiful banner. And on there it says, "It is finished." And so we've created a couple of pieces like that, some banners that speak to kind of what we're doing and what we're trusting and believing God for. So again, just being very strategic and thoughtful in what we're doing and how we're, again, using our gifts, the gifts that God has given us to offer that back up to God and to our community. So as Chandra said, that's what the youth room the children's room looks like in the middle now. So yeah. So that's kind of, we've repainted. I wish I had a picture of the hallway because there's another kind of painting thing that we've done, and I keep saying we, like I did it. I helped with nothing. Let me just say that.
We have some really
Yes. And so they've repainted, cleaned out the space, made it a little more lively for the children. And so again, that's contribute. So these are a couple of building projects that we've done. We got a grant from the RCA. And so what we decided to do with that was to make our outdoor space a little bit more usable for the community. And so what we've done is kind of taken about a third of the parking lot, and we're turning that part in the back into green space, so we can have more people come and be able to use that if they want to sit out and have barbecues or whatever that they want to do. They can do that. And if you're familiar with our parking with that area, we had the play thing that was dangerous, really dangerous. The slide playground. We took that out. Thank God. It was bad. It was bad. And so we took that out, and we're working to try to figure out some other options to put there again, because we still do want people to play there, but we also want it to be a space where, as a parent, right, the way it was, as a parent, you couldn't sit down. You just had to kind of stand while your kids were playing. So what does it look like for parents to have a place to sit? What does it look like for this to be a space where there's no, in that area, the closest park is Moran Park. So instead of having to walk over those 3-4 blocks, that you can come right on our lot and still have a safe place to play. So that's kind of part of what we're doing out there. Yeah, we'll put benches and things like that for people. Yes. Go ahead.
I don't know, because we also, who was that partnership with, though? I didn't have the name. But we also got, from the city, I believe, right? And put in a bench so that, again, people walking in the neighborhood, a resting place. Because it's something like they mapped out the walking path in that area, and our corner lot there is one of the stopping places, or just kind of in that route there. And so having a resting place, bench. So a partnership with the city and creating a bench right there on the corner there is another something that we're going to do.
And then we just kind of repainted several, refreshed our office needed it. So repainted that, bathrooms, ladies' bathrooms, so things like that. And then we're also in the process now, we have a capital campaign team that's working, we call it Desk of Thrones, where we are talking about some more maintenance and building improvements that we need to make across the campus. So Steve is one of the people on our team, and so he's been great, really great, to help us. And so we've been talking about how do we make our building more accessible? How do we make our building kind of just upgraded to where, I don't know what I did, to make it where it's easier for people to get in and out of the building. Right now, what we have for accessibility is not sufficient. It was the best for what we could do when we did it, but it's really not. There's not a whole lot of dignity in having somebody go to the back of the building and take a ramp into a door that you can barely fit in and can't get into the base. So it's just a lot of things we needed to do, and so we're in the process of doing that as well. All right, so where are we going? Today we actually are launching to the congregation what I've called Project 150. So we've already launched it with our leadership, but today we're actually officially doing it with our congregation. What's Project 150? Project 150 is really just our concerted effort as a group to get to 150 adults on a weekly basis. So that's probably my big head doing that. But Project 150 is really we just want to focus our community on it's okay to say we need more people, and how do we do that together? How do we take what we know is good and let everybody else know it's good too? And so again, there's the banker in me coming out. But how do we position ourselves properly so people can know there are great churches around here, and if you are called to Maple Avenue, then we want you to be at Maple Avenue. And so how do we do that? And so that's kind of what we're launching today with our congregation. So y'all pray for me. We're, again, as I said, we want to make our campus more accessible. So we're working on that with our capital campaign team and with our Desk of Thrones team. How do we do what's best for our campus so that people, if we want to be a place where all can come, then you have to actually be able, all need to get into the building, right? And so how do we do that and do that well? And so that's something that's really, really important to us. We want to figure out how we can be even more embracing to our neighborhood. Meaning, how do we deepen our partnerships? How do we deepen those engagement with people? Like, we have some really good community involvement, but again, people aren't, we don't live in a time now where people just come to church. Like, that's just the reality. I know you all see that here. We see that across, we're seeing that across, but like, people aren't just, church is just not the thing you do anymore. So how do we, or you go online. So how do we make, how do we put ourselves in position to say, for people to say, hey, if I decide I want to come, if I feel this drawing back to, if there's a place that I really want to have an authentic relationship with God, where can I go and I know that I'll be received well? And so we really want people to know that Maple Avenue is a place like that. So we're doing that. And
well,
then
I would add that we've strengthened our path to engagement that way, right? Would you say, like, just us recognizing on the leadership team that, like, how do we follow up with people more, right? Like, how do we address and talk to visitors, right? So just strengthening that, like, a visitor comes in, make sure, so we are, like, emphasizing, fill out the card, like, we have a welcome desk, like, being more welcoming right through the door, and just that follow through. So coming in, the step-by-step process, we have a process behind the scene that we're trying to be stronger on and intentional about. So that's one way also that we're embracing the core city.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that points out too is, again, we recognize, like, if you're bringing people in, you want to kind of keep them, and so, right? It makes sense. You're going to do all of them, get in the front door, don't let them out the back door. And so, so improving some processes around that, as Chandra just said, has been very important, especially again with our elders, and that's been good. And then of course we're doing a lot of this too is also helping us to get to a place where we are financially flourishing, because again, there's we can say what we want about money, but we need it. My Bible says money answers all things. No, just want to get to a place of stability. First of all, so we can do ministry the way we foresee God calling us to do it, and secondly, because again, you need it, like, not for the sake of for sustainability and for growth, and so those are the things that we are working on now. So and then that's not on here, but I know one of the things that Gordon asked me to address was we are currently, we were the first and still kind of are a part of both the RCA and the CRC. So let's deal with the elephant in the room. And so, so we have begun the process we've had some conversation with our congregation about disaffiliation. You all, again, I don't think I have to share with you all what's going on with both, but we again entered a place where we said if we're going to be, our line is we are a place of embrace. So we can't embrace people well if we're having and engaging with and affiliated with certain things that we don't feel speak to embrace. We are a congregation, like probably every congregation, that has people on both sides of this conversation and opinion and belief. And that to us speaks to even more so why it is important for us to be in a space where we say, listen, as you work with the Holy Spirit works in you to do whatever the Holy Spirit's going to do, we want to walk with you. It is not my job to tell you what to do. It's my job to love you as Christ loves you, and then whatever the Holy Spirit's going to do, the Holy Spirit's going to do. And so we have started the process, and because of some structural things that have happened, it might be taking a little longer than we want, but from all signs that we see, our congregation is on board. with it, and so we are in that process. So. I'm sorry. What does that mean? Does it mean it means that we are going to be leaving the CRC. Okay. Yes. But I wanted to. Yes. Yes. Oh, sorry. No, we're not leaving RCA. No, we're good. They're good for now. No, I'm kidding. Though we did have an issue anyway. So that's all I have. So I guess we're going to open it up for questions at this point. I think I've talked enough.
So this has really been educational for me as somebody who lives in the core city and wasn't aware of all that's happening at Maple Avenue Ministries. 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
One, I'd be curious to hear how you transitioned from becoming a banker to a pastor. Give us a little more of your story. And second, you've several times mentioned I Am Academy. Is there any relationship between Maple Avenue Ministries and I Am Academy?
Yes. So I'll answer the second one first because that's the easier one to answer. Yes, there is a relationship between the two from its inception, really, from the inception of Maple Ave, from I Am Academy. A lot of the co-founders are both a part of Maple Avenue, and so there was a lot of work that went in, thought that went in, just kind of across the two organizations. And then originally at one point we were the fiduciary.
Yeah, for like the first year.
Yeah.
But the relationship, I mean, really it's just, like you said, just, there's no legal relationship or anything like that. Just friends, family, you know.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep, that's
yeah. So a lot of the board comes from right
Yeah,
now. Several of
me.
the board members, my wife, so are
Yeah.
a part of Maple Avenue. So there's just across its history. Its history. There's been just mutual relationships. So. Yeah. Second question. How did I transit? Okay. Woo. Long story short. So 17. I knew God called me the pastor, and I ran. I was at I went to HBCU in Oklahoma, Langston University, and they don't have a religion major, so I went to college on a music scholarship, and so I was singing, thinking that that's what I was going. For those who know, I wanted to be Luther Vandross. Y'all know who Luther Vandross is? That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that, and so about a year in, God revealed that was not what I was supposed to be doing, and that I was called a pastor, and I didn't want to do it. Didn't understand if that were the case, why would I be in a college in Oklahoma that doesn't have a related degree? And so long story short, got a degree in finance, knew God called me into banking again, didn't know why. But then once I got there, I realized a part of my ministry I feel really strong about giving people a better understanding of God's feeling towards money. I'm from Chicago, and so I grew up in impoverished neighborhoods, and just seeing how poverty affects people, how church has sometimes a very unhealthy ethic towards money on both sides, that I just felt like this was a part of my gifting, and I understood scripture in a way that was weird concerning money. So yeah, so at some point I was tired of banking. So I left, after college I started working in banks. I worked for 3 of the largest banks, and I just got to the point where I didn't like it. I saw too much injustice. I saw too much usury. I saw some things I really didn't like. And so at one point, I was just fed up, and I was like, all right, I'm sick of it. And God was like, all right, you ready to be a pastor? I was like, nope. And so, yeah, it was just like, all right, it's time. It was one of them Paul on Damascus roads, though I didn't lose my sight. But it was just one of them, okay, it's time to do what I've called you to do. And then I've since learned, I tell this story all the time, that my first week at Maple Avenue, the boiler went out, and I was like, whoa. We got to get money. And God was like, you're ready for this. Like, I've showed you this. You know how to do this. And so it was just like, okay, now I see how managing people, managing money, this passion I have for people who have a really weird relationship with money have all kind of are coming together to help serve the kingdom. So, yeah, that's the short version.
Winfred,
Yes, sir.
could you go back to your first slide, your cover slide? Tell me about that emblem.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so we did rebrand a couple of years ago. So the emblem is actually, so the sign is actually what's over our front door. So that was, when we were going through it, it was kind of, this is one of the things that's already on our building. And I'm trying to remember. It was a meaning behind it that escapes me right now. But we decided to use the color, do the colors like this outside of the lines because we feel like that kind of represents who we are as a church, that we don't fit. To be here is not something that fits us. We are not a stay within the lines congregation. We outside the lines. It's a little messy. It kind of look a little, but that's just who we are. It's not pretty all the time, but it works. One of the things the person who did this, one of the visions she had was one day she was coming into the church, and as she was coming into the church, there was a bird laying on the front door, laying at the front door, and she was like, the bird looked like it was dead, but it was still looked like it was moving, but she didn't know, and so she came into the building and kind of watched the bird, and the bird just kind of, again, sat there as though it was dead. She went upstairs to do what she had to do, came back, and the bird all of a sudden starts walking and then flies off. And in that moment, she said, like, that the Holy Spirit was like, this is a place where broken people come and they leave whole. And so this is kind of represents that. Like, again, it might be messy, it might look messy, but God is at work in this space. And so that's kind of the thought behind it, yeah.
With leaving the CRC portion, and I'm wondering in terms of financial, like, are they part of the support of your church right now? So then you have to come up with something to help fill that hole? Is
Good
that
question.
part of the issue?
In terms of why it's taking so long, is that part of the issue, or just why I say it's taking longer than we want? No, it's no. So first, yes, they are a part of supporting us. There is a support amount, but that's really not it's a concern. Let's be honest, it is a concern. But it's what's taking so long is when Maple Avenue Ministry, when Maple Avenue CRC and Maple Avenue Ministries joined together and they became the first. There were some paperwork things that were done that we don't know what that means that they were done right the way they were done. So, so we're trying to work through that to make sure that legally it doesn't put us in a strange place.
So is it a question of who owns the property?
Yes and no. Yes, that's part of it. But really what it boils down to is when they redid the paperwork, we're technically a regular 501c3, but not a church 501c3. And then of course there is the question of, like, the RCA does not own our building right now, because obviously CRC, the congregation owns it. So what does that mean? Do we have to redo paperwork to now put the building back in the hands of RCA? We don't know. And so that's a question that is a part of the question, but that's not really it's more of just an organization question.
I know you don't know everyone's story in your congregation, but I'm wondering, are there leftover Maple Avenue Christian Reformed Church people there? Are there folks who've been reared in the church and
Yes.
have intentionally chosen you? Are there folks who are coming to a relationship with God and Jesus Christ who find their way? I mean, how many are folks like the Greens who found their way to you, and how many others have been invited in by other families or come from unchurched backgrounds? I'm just curious about that.
In terms of, like, the growth, I would say, okay, pulling on that banker background again, I would say probably 60% are either unchurched or dechurched, and the other 40 are either from other places. Yeah. It's good to see you too, by the way.
Just having a little history here, I can tell you that most of the Maple Avenue original congregation has probably died off by now. Uh, But there were some, yeah, but very open people who made this transition happen and were very supportive of it. So,
Again, thanks for your being here today and for the work that you're doing. For a number of congregations in the downtown area, their effort to do outreach has involved Hispanic congregations. Have you found inroads there? Are you working or thinking about working with the Hispanic community in your neighborhood, and how does that work with your other experience?
Yeah, great question. So yes, we have begun those conversations. We already do some things with, I forgot their new name, but yes, yeah, New Hope. So they just changed their name. So yeah, so we do some things with them as well. And then myself and Pastor Angel at Third have been having some conversations again about what we can do, whether it's with our immigration reform team or just other ministry things as well. So we have been having those conversations. I think the difficult part is obviously with all the stuff going on with ICE and things like that, they're very hesitant right now to do certain things. But yes, we have been trying to do that.
So the neighborhood just north of you to the lake is gentrifying, has been. How has that impacted your vision of Core City, and how do you see the original, what we might call the original Core City, blending with that? Is there a blend? Is there a role for you in that?
I haven't thought about that. That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. I think so I have this, my original thought is I've been trying to think through not just that community, but even further the other way, is how do we how do we make Maple Avenue something that people see? Because again, we're still in a space where people want to go where it's comfortable. So how do we make people feel comfortable? Yeah, so that's a good question.
The reason I ask is that this church, our youth group, has worked with Greenpoint Church in New York. Mm-hmm. And that church has, in a sense, had to redefine itself in part because Greenpoint is gentrifying, mm-hmm. and the cost of living there mm-hmm. has driven out the communities that church traditionally served. Mm. And so that even down to the food bank and how they do things, all of that is they've had to work their way through.
Yeah, yeah. Something about it. Yeah.
On page 16 of today's bulletin, people will see Maple Avenue Ministries' name, along with Hope Church and several others, about the 2026 Civil Rights Lecture that's happening tomorrow. And I understand that you're going to be a part of the panel.
I am.
Can you say a bit about that?
Yes. Yeah, just pray for me. It's like, why are you putting me in these situations where I know I'm going to get in trouble? Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. First of all, I'm glad that we were able to be a partner in it, and so yeah, I'm grateful for that. But then also, yeah, I'm looking forward to my goal, and the reason I agreed to be on the panel is I think that this is a wonderful time for us to leave tomorrow with an actual, maybe not a full plan, but at least a commitment to say that the people in this room, the people in that room, at least we know we're not alone. And what can we actually do to affect change in this community? What keeps me up at night this past couple of weeks is the reality that I have brothers and sisters who are sleeping outside in this weather, in a city that has a whole lot of money and the ability to do something about it. And I just don't think Jesus is okay with that. And so how do we, I think that we should do something about it. So I plan on saying probably getting in trouble, and I'm okay with that. God gave me wide shoulders for a reason. And so I just think that, I'm looking forward to being able to say, first of all, we're not alone. Like those of us who feel what is happening, you're not alone. But secondly, how do we come together and do something about it?
Could you say a little bit about what you might suggest that we could do about it?
Ooh.
Given the money that is in this community, the needs that are self-evident, and that hopefully no one would say, no, you're wrong, that's not the case. What kinds of things might you propose that we all could give consideration to and be party to?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I think that we should all, from a social perspective, we should all do, I think that we should put pressure, first of all, on the organizations that we currently have to work together. All right, so I've had conversations, so if we're talking about this homeless issue, I've had conversations with 3 of the main organizations who are trying to help with this problem, and what I found is none of them talk to each other, and none of them work together. Which I understand now a little bit better why, but the bigger problem is that they're in different spaces, but there's nothing to connect the spaces. So you have one organization that primarily helps if you're houseless. If you're houseless and you don't have a place to go, they'll help you. Then there's another that says that, okay, once you get a house and you get a steady job, then we could help you. Okay, but there's a problem. How do we get you from houseless to having a house and a steady job? And it's that middle part that there's nothing there. That's a problem. So I think we could force those 2 organizations to fix that problem and be a part of fixing the problem, right? So I think that's one thing we could walk away with. Like, how do we fix this? Because there's clearly something that's missing in this gap, but how do we make this gap go away? And if we can say, you know what, as churches, we're all going to say, you all fix this and we're going to help, I think that problem could be fixed. That's one. Yeah. It's oversimplified one, but it's one. Yeah. Steve, you have one?
Well, secondly, vote.
Yeah.
I see that they just cut mental health funding again.
Yep.
And just to follow up to the need question, I appreciate that you focused, Winfred, on the needs that that you see for the homeless and the community needs. Are there any specific needs that your ministry, Maple Avenue Ministries, you can see right now? You've got a lot going on, a lot of growth.
Yeah.
My impression is that there's not tons of financial resources in the congregation. I hope that's not out of school to say that. So, yeah, are there any more specific ways you see coming up that you could use some help?
Absolutely. The 2 main things, and this is what Pastor Gordon was alluding to, is we've reached a point now where volunteers can do so much, but you need people who are, so in the areas of worship and children, we need somebody who's dedicated to those 2 areas. Because we've got, again, me and a part-time office person, and that's it. And so we are, we're doing what we can, but it's still, we're at a point where, again, it comes from, like, you can maintain, but then it's like, now to go out and do the things that are needed to grow become difficult. And if you go out and do the things you need to grow, then to maintain is difficult. And so trying to navigate that is becoming increasingly difficult with the 14-year-old who plays basketball and football and all the other things I have to do. So that would be very helpful, is to have a person or persons who can lead those and kind of, again, continue to grow those areas. That's a specific thing, yeah.
I just want to say thank you for coming today, and I think I'm duly impressed with all the things that you're working on, and I hope that all can continue. I'm very grateful for you all.
Thank you very much. We're grateful for you.
If I could build on what Judy just said, I was especially kind of impressed by, and I must confess to being a little surprised by, the success of your children's ministry and the growth of number of children, given the small congregation. Why are you successful there? And is it because you're attracting a young congregation? Or, I mean, where are those children coming from?
It is. I think really what it's because of that. It's because we've got a younger congregation, and some of it is people are coming in, some are moving into the community, and some of it is, it kind of catches on that, you get 5 or 6 families who are committed and whose kids love it, and they tell their friends and they tell their friends. That's I think a large part of it. Yeah.
Any last questions? Did you have a last question? Oh. Huckett, you have one last question.
What's your sense of how the greater community perceives your role specifically, that your church in the community?
Oh, why did you ask that question? No, it's fine. This is my tension with God right now. Is I feel as though that God is calling Maple Avenue to be, and I'm going to use the word louder, especially in the areas of justice and reconciliation and bringing things together. And so I think that our role is to be that prophetic voice that says, hey, this isn't right, and we've got to do something about this. And God, I think that's kind of the role, which is, I will say, is very uncomfortable for me. That's why me and God I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. But I believe that's kind of what God is calling us into this season, to be that, which is not out of line with what Maple Avenue has done before. My predecessor, who was my I went to Western, so I was at Maple Avenue during this, so she's a mentor to me, kind of started that. And I'm like, I'm not her. But I do think that Maple Avenue is called to do some of that in this community.
And I think there's a firm foundation for that, because of what you introduced us to.
I agree.
You have an intentional, multicultural, multi-generational, multiracial community that's working actively to be a community, and that's a shining light for this community.
Right. I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really like this coloring outside the lines. Yeah, I'm all about that. That's great. I love the children's ministries, and my head is popping with, Larry and I are headed to the Association of Partners in Christian Education, and I want to know why I don't have a person from Maple Avenue coming with us. I'm like, why did I not think of this?
Yeah.
So you just put some ideas in my head, and we'll be talking.
Yes, let's.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much for coming today and sharing. Deeply appreciate that.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you and, again, Hope's partnership with Maple Avenue. Again, even before my time, Hope has been a very good partner with us, and so we are continuing to find even greater ways that we can partner and do things together. So I'm grateful.
Thank you. And we thank Chandra, too. Chandra had to leave early today, so yes, we'll make sure our appreciation is expressed to her for coming today, too. Yes, thank you very much. Next week, as you look at page 14 in today's bulletin, Emily Christensen will be here next week to talk about Culture Works. And so we look forward to having next week, the 25th is also Pizza Sunday and congregational meeting and lots happening. So we look forward to seeing you all next week too. Thank you. Oh. All right. There you go. Next week. Thank you.